All right, we'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Bowman here. Frazier.
Here.
Honey.
Here.
Laporte.
Here.
Adi.
Here.
Patterson.
Here.
And Rush.
Here.
Okay. Approve the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda, Chair?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Public comment. No public comment. New business.
Sure. I had a question, like, would this be the appropriate time to propose that we have trustee Adi chair the meeting?
Yeah, that's what we were gonna do, right?
I'd like to make a motion then
I'll support that.
to have trustee Adi chair the meeting, the special board meeting.
I would
Motion
love to take
support.
that honor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chair,
You
for
wanna sit
allowing me
here?
to do that. Yeah. Mr. Bowman? All right. We're all here tonight to find our new township manager, we hope, right? Couple items I'd like to ask the committee and the board to consider is we have one candidate that has withdrawn from our application process, our interview process, and we have another candidate that is out of the country. And so we originally agreed to, from the committee, from our previous meeting, to interview 4 candidates for the position of township manager. And currently we have 3, because we have one that has accepted a position in another community, and we have a gentleman that is not gonna be back in town, I think, until the 10th, Debbie? Correct. So we have to, I'd ask the committee to consider, do we wanna wait for that interview to come back, or do we want to change our original program and look for an alternate to fill that spot?
Chair, if I may.
Yes. Treasurer Patterson?
Thank you, trustee Adi. Chairman. What I would propose too, from my understanding, I don't know if this is the case, but like as far as like Ken Martin, like he did score high, he was like one of the top scorers. I think we determined, maybe we have discussion after, see how the meetings go tonight. Do we want to have a second line of interviews and have them come back in on that? Do we have people discuss, have an interview for a second time, or do we interview that candidate for the first time? I still think it'd be good to give them a fair shake. I think it just depends on how the interviews go tonight. But in addition to, like, I'm not sure if they're here. I heard that one of the candidates, we had alternate candidates. One of the candidates may be here tonight. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Dunbar, Kevin Dunbar. He may be here tonight if the board so chooses. I think that he would be ready to interview, but I'm not sure. So that would be up to the board to choose if they want to put him in the third spot to interview. So we have 3 candidates tonight.
Okay, so let's circle back to the original question, is are we, as a committee, we do not want to remove Ken Martin from the consideration? We're going to wait till the 10th to finish this process? or-
Absolutely. I think absolutely.
Chair, I would say that we move forward with the process because we're already losing candidates to other townships, and there's a lot of townships hiring and cities hiring managers. So I think if we find a candidate that we like, we need to move forward.
Chair, did this candidate that's out of the country, did he know of this date that we were
He did
gonna
not.
have these interviews?
No, when we contacted him, he notified us he was out of the country and when he would be back, and that he would like to interview when he got back.
So he didn't know that he was
Correct.
supposed
Well,
to?
he knew he was applying for jobs, but,
Not when he was supposed to,
Yeah.
just to show up for the interview.
yeah.
Okay.
So that, that's the question that we have to answer tonight, as a committee is, we have to, one, decide if Mr. Martin is gonna stay in the process, and then two, decide which candidates we want to pull from the alternate list or the original list to fill the 2 spots, and or 3, decide if we want to interview 4 candidates or we want to keep it to 3 candidates, which then we wouldn't have to go deep into into our candidate list.
Chair, I guess the order to answer my opinion would be, number 1, is that we do leave him in the running. He was not aware when we set the date. I think he was like, the date that he was notified, he was already in travel route. That's my suggestion on 1. Number 2 is that who would we pull into the candidate route? Like, I believe that since we only have 2, I'd like to interview as many candidates as we can tonight, if the candidate's available. And then, 3, again, what was the third question as far as like how many?
Why don't we answer one at a time? As a committee, do we want to wait until at least the 10th? He'll be back in the 10th, so sometime after the 10th, do we want to delay our interviews and our decisions until after that date?
Chair.
So what I'd like to do is go down and, Mr. Honey, are you in favor of waiting?
I don't want him to be kicked out, but at the same time, go through this process. If we don't find him in this group here, then yes, give him another chance. But
Well, we either have
to
to
wait
remove
on it,
we either have to remove him, or he's still part of the process. We
Then
can
I
add
would
him, we can
remove
add him,
him. My vote
we
is
can add him later, but we either, you know,
have to remove him then.
Yep.
I would vote the same way as Mr. Honey.
Yeah, respectfully, I would
Rich?
remove them, and if we don't find a candidate in this round of interviews, we set up another round of interviews with
With him
the
included.
eligible candidates that we have left. I mean, we
Mr.
all
Rush?
ranked them top to bottom.
Chair? It's only 6 days
I just need
before
a
he
yes or
comes
no.
back.
I just-
So,
yes
you
or
know
no.
what,
Yes or no.
it looks like the majority is gonna be, I hope we keep them in the process, but for right now, just move things along. But I really hate to see, you know, the committee put him near the top of the list, so.
Chair, if I may, so basically when you say like, either if we do not remove Ken Martin as the candidate, then we cannot make a decision to move forward on
Any candidate.
any candidate if he's still.
Because
active.
we would
Okay.
be waiting to interview him, so
Yeah,
we either have to
Yeah,
say he's out and we can add him in later, and we can make a decision between now and then. If we don't come up with a candidate, he can be added
Understood.
back into the mix.
Yeah.
But the way I interpret it, if we have a candidate that hasn't been interviewed, we can't select a township manager because we have an interview scheduled for somebody coming,
Got it.
unless we call another special board meeting.
Yeah,
we could-
that's
we
what
could
I was gonna suggest, Chair, we could always call another special
We
board.
could even have
So
that
yes or
discussion
no,
at the end
Ken?
of the meeting, so, yeah, I would say.
I already gave my opinion.
I would suggest removing
I
them,
would
just,
say remove
I
it.
mean, it's
Okay,
been, what,
we-
4 days?
We have four board members in consensus, so I will go ahead and ask for a motion to remove Ken Martin from the applicant list.
I will make a motion to remove Ken Martin from the applicant
I
list.
second it.
Mr. Honey?
Support.
Mr. Rush?
No,
Mr. Laporte?
remove him.
Remove him.
Remove him?
Remove him.
Remove them.
Okay. All right, so now we can move on to our next point of business is we have 2 openings for the candidate committee. We wanted to interview 4. Is that still the consensus, that we want to start with 4 and move on beyond that?
I think we
My-
should do 3, but.
Chair, I would say, if there's a third candidate here tonight that is in our list and wants to interview, we have the time, interview them, and
Yeah, he's here.
Is he, I don't know.
Yeah, he's sitting back there.
Okay, I've never met the
That
candidate.
wasn't, that
I haven't met any of the
Let me be
candidates, so
more
I'm not
clear,
sure.
let me be more clear in my question. We have 4 candidates that we approved to be interviewed. Are we going to reduce that to 3 and only interview 3? Are we gonna stick to 4 and have to add 2 candidates to be interviewed? If we go to 3 and we find the gentleman in our selection tonight, we can move forward. But if we say we're gonna interview 4, we
Chair
still
goes
gotta
3.
come back and interview that 4th person.
Chair, I'll make a motion that we reduce from 4 to 3 in interviewing candidates.
I'll support that.
Support.
Mr. Honey?
Support.
Mr. Rush?
Support.
Mr. Laporte?
Support.
Mr. Bowman? Mr. Patterson?
Of course, it's always my
And
voice.
Mr. Fraser. Okay, and I agree also. I'll vote yes on that. So, we have moved to reduce our candidate pool at this time, at this meeting, to 3, knowing that at some point in the future, we could call another meeting and interview additional people. All right, so at this time, it has been brought to the attention that we do have one of the alternates that is on our official list that we put together from our last meeting. If we would like to add the alternate to the agenda tonight, I would entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve, we put Kevin Dunbar on the list.
Support.
Support.
Mr. Honey?
Support.
Mr. Rush?
Support.
Mr. Laporte?
Support.
Mr. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Patterson? Mr. Frazier? I also support. That way we give Samantha has a good roll call vote on that, so, all right. All right, so I think we have taken care of all of the things that we need to taken care of to get our interviews up and running. So I think our first candidate we had tonight was Mr. Elliott. Mr. Elliott, we met in the hallway, welcome. So what I would like to do is ask Mr. Elliott to kind of give us just a quick highlight about who you are, where you're from, and then I'll ask the committee members to start peppering you with questions and see if we can move through this and decide if we need a new TM or do we have a TM.
Okay, so I'm Greg Elliott. I'm from originally northern Michigan, but I've been in southeast Michigan since the 80s. Came down here to go to school, studied originally business administration, but then got my master's in public administration at Eastern. Worked in that field right out of grad school for 10 years at Pittsfield Charter Township, which you may know, south of Ann Arbor, back when that was a really quickly growing place. Great experience. Went to law school at night while I was working there down in, it was called Detroit College of Law at the time. It's now part of Michigan State, which is kind of anathema to me, being from the Ann Arbor area mostly. But I got my law degree, left Pittsfield, went out and practiced law for a number of years. Also, during that time of self-employment, more or less, I worked as a planning consultant for a couple of years as an employee of McKenna, and then as what they call a sub-consultant. So I was working out of my own office and doing their planning work, had exposure to a lot of different communities in southeast Michigan as a result of that process. I was able to do all that entrepreneurial stuff because my wife worked at the University of Michigan, and when she quit working at the University of Michigan, my need for medical cover, health insurance and such, drove me back into government service. So I went down to work in the city of Adrian initially as their community development director. That was in 2019. About 8 months later, I ended up also being their city administrator, which I did until last month. I was able to take early retirement there, which was a fortunate thing for me financially, and so now I have the opportunity to look around for something else that I would like to do. This is the area where I've lived for quite a long time. I'd love to stay in the area, but I'm looking pretty broadly at whatever my opportunities might be, so. That's the thumbnail of who I am, I guess.
All right, well, if the committee would allow me to ask the first couple of questions, and I'll start down to the right with Mr. Honey, and we'll just work our way this way for questions for the candidate. All right. Mr. Elliott, in your work in, your last place was Adrian?
Yeah.
Yeah. Please describe, to us, a process that you implemented in that community that, bettered the service to the residents or, helped the residents, which is what we're here to do is to provide a service to the residents. So can you explain something that you did down there and helped implement that, improve the quality of life of the residents?
So well, I'll say a couple different things, I guess. One of the most notable things that we did for the benefit of the residents actually came out of the pandemic, which was to, as you may recall, at that time you could have meetings virtually, and we did have meetings virtually. But as part of that process, we wired what we call city chambers to be very audio-visual friendly, if you will, so that and we continued that process then after the pandemic was over and the authority for virtual meetings was over, to allow all the residents of the town to participate in meetings virtually, so that not only could you watch them on the screen, but you could interact with the city commission or any of the public bodies, planning commission, zoning board of appeals, all the public bodies were on Zoom interactively for the residents, so that they, by doing nothing but opening up their smartphone, could participate in city business. And I think that was a great thing for both transparency and for public participation. And so, I would count that as one of the better things we did. In terms of services, we did a new trash contract when I was there, which I hesitate to bring it up because it wasn't popular, right? But at the end of the day, it was what needed to be done. We implemented trash totes, which of course nobody likes if they don't already have them, but people tend to like them once they do have them. But as you may know, with trash contractors being what they are and going to one person on a truck, there's not going to be an option in the future to have anything other than totes as your service. And so we were able to implement a new contract at a very great rate for the residents, very competitive rate, and get them all both trash and recycling totes. As I say, over some strong objections, but we had the backbone to do it, and it was what was needed for the future. So I guess I'd cite those couple things.
All right, thank you. My next question is, can you please describe the general process you would implement in creating a budget for the township?
Yeah, in my experience, and I don't know exactly what your structure is here, but my experience is that I let my department heads propose budgets for their particular functional areas. Obviously, a portion of it is mine, even was mine as administrator, and I would soon be mine here as well. But I let them propose that, and in my experience, every time I've done that, I've been massively over budget at the point where those all requests come in, and then we meet individually and we talk through what those discrepancies are and try to reach consensus on what can stay in and what needs to go, prioritizing the things that, as you alluded to in your other question, are important to service delivery and what the residents need. And so, we sharpen our pencils and we line out those things that are superfluous and go from there.
Yeah.
Of course, somebody has to be doing the revenue projecting as well, and that's on me as it relates to those things that aren't department generated. With fees, I ask the department heads to estimate those revenues initially.
Actually, you bring up something that was going to be a follow-up. So,
Okay.
here in the township, we have department heads that report to the township manager, and as the budgeting process comes through, and as you would be working on those budgets, the department heads have the authority to come to the board and say, you know what, he's cutting my budget too far, and I need this money. How would you handle those type of adverse situations where somebody who reports to you comes to the board because they feel like, they're not getting the money that they need to properly run their department? How would you balance that relationship with that?
Well, in my process, I did have them, all the major department heads did come to the city commission and made their presentations.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we hoped those were agreed upon presentations. They weren't always. So we had that situation where I can think of my fire chief doing just that, coming and lobbying for another shift of firefighters one particular year. He did not get them that year. He got them the next year. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the township board's decision and the city commission, in that case, its decision as to the allocation of resources, and they should be acting on the best information that they can have. And so I have my perspective on it. Department Head has theirs, and in your case, Township Board should be entitled to all that information if the Department Head and I are not in accord on what the request should be.
I have one more question, if the board will let me do one more before
Chair,
we go.
Chair, I have a quick question too. In the interest of time management too, we didn't really start this interview until about 10 after. And or should we maybe limit our questions down to one, just so that we're not?
I think we need to answer the
two.
questions
Okay.
that we need to get to.
I just wanna be cognizant of
I only had
time.
one more, and
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be quick.
Yeah.
The last question I had was, talk about what type of economic development you think you would want to see in Sumpter, or that you would want to bring to Sumpter.
Well, I mean, it's difficult for me to answer, not knowing necessarily what your priorities are.
I wasn't going to give you a softball.
I mean, you have, of course, great potential in terms of your location, and yet I sense that you have a commitment to a rural sort of lifestyle here, and that would certainly inform what those things would be. In that kind of a setting, recreation resources can be a great opportunity. I mean, they could be, again, when your focus is mostly on service for your residents that exist today, that can be something that really adds to the quality of life to a community. Trails, bike lanes, things like that might enhance the experience for those who are here, or park improvements, or even addition of parklands. Attraction of industry is very important. And I know you do have some land designated for industrial use, and industry is very important in keeping the taxes for the residents down because of the relatively higher taxable value for industrial development. And attracting industrial development can be very, very difficult, right? And I mean, you need to be in the pipeline. Detroit Regional Partnership has a pipeline of opportunities, and you need to be reviewing those and seeing if you have any land that is consistent with those, and making those applications to those prospects. And if you have particular targeted sites, you can put them up on what's called Zoom Prospector and put them out there so that site selectors are at least aware of your opportunities. But there's no magic bullet for industrial.
Okay, well, I
economic
thought you had a
development.
magic wand for us. You're going to have a good idea for us. I'm done. Thank you for
Thank you.
putting up with my questions.
Yeah.
Mr. Honey, do you have a question?
I really didn't, other than, we're so used to having a township managers that's very giving of his time, and I'm just curious, and I see that you live out in Tecumseh. Can you be giving of your time, or are you gonna be short on that, being that you got a nice drive to go home?
Yeah, it's not that bad a drive. I mean, I wouldn't stay in Tecumseh if I was working here. I would be closer. But I drove over here tonight. It took me 40 minutes, and I've lived a lot farther away from jobs where I worked. When I was a consultant, I would, have to attend planning commission meetings in northern Michigan, living in Ann Arbor. So, that's not an issue.
So there is a little thought about moving closer?
Oh, yeah. No, and before I moved down to Tecumseh when I became administrator. When I was the community development director for Adrian, I actually commuted down, and I lived in Depot Town in Ypsi, and we loved living there. We lived there for 15 years, and so we'd love to get back closer to the area that we're used to. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a great time to be buying and selling houses, so there's that. I got a 3% mortgage on mine, but, you know, over the longer term, I would certainly want to move closer. But to answer your direct question, time's not an issue. I know what the job is. I know there's lots of night meetings and lots of things you got to attend. That would be my expectation.
I thank you. Tim?
All right, Mr. Rush?
Yeah, obviously you're here tonight, you put an application in. Just curious, did you do any research on the township to kind of look at the history, our fiscal situation, anything like that? I'm just curious.
I'm aware of the township. You know, like I say, I've lived in Southeast Michigan since the '80s, so you know, I'm generally aware of the situation here. I mean, I have to say, I have not studied your budget yet or anything like that. But you know, I went on the website, I went through your master plan, I did those things to familiarize myself. So I'm not ignorant of what your issues are. I don't think.
Okay, and just one more if I could, Chair?
Nope.
Can you describe your kind of management style, how you would relate to the board, the management heads?
It's pretty collaborative. I have an open door sort of policy. My door's never closed unless something really, you know, untoward is going on. And anytime I have somebody in my office already and someone from another department approaches, I always motion them in as well, because I like that kind of interaction between departments. Never was I happier than when I had people from different departments all sitting in my office and we're all talking about, you know, something that may not have been in the direct wheelhouse of one department, but, you know, you get different perspectives on those things. And yeah, I feel like and I think if you talk to anybody that worked for me, I'm pretty authentic as a manager, and what you see is what you get. I'm not putting on a show, and people who work for me seem to have appreciated that. You know, and that comes with, you know, warts and all. I mean, I am who I am. As it relates to the relationship with the legislative body, in this case, Township Board, yeah, I think it's my job to make sure you all have the exact same information, that, you know, nobody gets special treatment, nobody has better information than anybody else, and that I'm keeping you informed of what I'm doing all the time, so that, you know, you don't feel blindsided by anything that's going on. And of course, you provide the policy direction, and so I take my marching orders from you.
Thank you, Chair. That's it for me, so we can move along and make sure everybody gets their questions in.
All right, Clerk Laporte?
Hi, do you need something to drink?
No, I'm good.
You sure that's, we're just getting going, right?
Okay, all right, well, if I dry up, I'll let you know.
All right, have you ever worked, applying for a grant, you know, federal or state grants for, capital equipment or any large expenditures?
Yeah, I mean, we were successful in Adrian for quite a few things. I mean, on different levels. The grandest success we had was actually in legislative earmarks, which we got $15 million in legislative earmarks for redevelopment of the downtown. That's a different process, though. That's not the grant writing process that you're probably referring to. That's a lobbying process where you hire a lobbyist and you do your work kind of more behind the scenes. But we had a very nice success last year with Mishta's new My Neighborhood grant. We got $400,000 for homeowner repairs through them. It's kind of the rechanneling of CDBG funds that they have going on for non-entitlement communities. And it's a great opportunity. It's intended to renew from year to year as well. Now, Mishta being what it is, they have not, as of my departure there, they have not managed to actually provide the funds yet to the city, but they were awarded and they are coming, and so that's gonna be, that was a nice, win for us, to get that kind of money that, can be applied. It goes to people in the low to moderate income, range, for, household repair, things that are needed, to fix up your home. So that was a great win. I mean, there were others that were more, department head driven. Fire department got a lot of, equipment grants. Police department got some training grants as well. But those are the most notable ones, the ones I mentioned.
So regarding our police and fire command staff and structure here, we have a great crew on both sides of those. And both of those entities do really well reaching out to the public and providing programs for the community. The fire does, as well as police. As a township manager, how would you propose a community involvement program? How would you reach out to the community to keep them engaged with activities or programs? Like currently, the fire department does like a smoke detector program. They'll come out, and the fire department has a community outreach. It's kind of on the limbo right now, but they've been very successful with it. Like to get your ideas and thoughts, and if you've done anything like that in the past in your positions, and what you can bring to this community.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what your media market is, I guess. I started a citywide newsletter. I did it weekly in Adrian that I wrote as the administrator, and we published it on the website, and then you could subscribe to it as well. And so whatever was happening that week, we put it in the newsletter for people to stay informed as to city business. I was on the radio regularly. They had a Saturday call-in talk show there, and so that was a good opportunity to interact with people as well. In general, anytime we had a project, we would, rather than holding a public hearing, we would hold an open house for it and, put some interactive graphics up. We had screens, as I mentioned before, in city chambers, put them up in city chambers, have the plans laid out, and just have the relevant staff people and myself there to answer any questions for anybody that dropped in. Just give a drop-in time, a couple hours, where we were in city chambers to answer questions about what the project was. Whatever anybody wanted to ask. I always felt that was better than, just a public hearing where you get your 3 minutes and you're done, or whatever the time frame is. So, those are a few examples. I think there are probably more.
So lastly, do you have any experience with capital improvement planning and managing large infrastructure projects?
Yeah. In fact, when going back to my Pittsfield days, I wrote their first capital improvement plan. I was not just the community development director there. Ultimately, I was also the utilities director. And I managed, at that time, it was an $8.5 million water and sewer extension project that opened up the west side of the township to development, which is where you see Oak Valley Center and Target and all that now. So I built that water tower that's on I-94 along there, and quite a bit of water and sewer infrastructure for the township in those days. With Adrian, going back to my grant talk, I guess I forgot this one. We were successful getting a TAP grant for the redevelopment of Winter Street in Adrian, which is, it's sort of been a bypass street to downtown, and what we want to do is have the character of a downtown street, so widen the sidewalks, narrow the lanes, and we added a bike loop, a protected bike loop to it, back to the regional trail that runs through the city called the Kiwanis Trail, in order to qualify it for a TAP grant, and we were successful getting $5 million for that. That will not be built. I won't be there to see it built, but it's going to be built in 2026. The grant was awarded for that. So yeah, I've managed some big capital projects over the years.
All right, thank you very much. That's all I have, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Bowman?
Yeah, would you please highlight your most recent experience in creating short and long-term strategic planning?
Yeah, we didn't have one in Adrian, or not a current one when I became administrator, and 2 years ago, I brought a consultant down, Lou Bender. He's very experienced in that area. I used to teach at CMU, and we created a new strategic plan for the city commission for the first time in quite a number of years. And Lou has a great process. We created we focused on 3 broad goals and objectives under those goals, and then 1-year tasks related to accomplishing each of those that were then assigned to some either body or person in terms of the responsibility. And then we every month on the second city commission agenda of the month, we had a check-in as it related to those 1-year tasks to see how we were doing as we went through the year. And so we got through pretty much all of our 1-year tasks the first year, and then redid that process without Lou. I facilitated the second time. We went to a place called the Stubnitz Center in Adrian, which is out in the woods in one of our big parks, where they all just sat there for a day, and the department heads came in as a resource for them, but it's their plan, and then they developed their next set of 1-year tasks, and so they're on to their second year of that process. It seemed to work really well, both in terms of keeping us focused on the things that we wanted to accomplish toward those broader goals, and ultimately, when the entire city commission voted for it, now it was the city's policy. Everybody bought into it, and we were all trying to accomplish those things together.
Okay, great. My second question, why are you interested in Sumpter Township, and make a case on why you should hire you over other qualified candidates?
I'm interested because I'm from the area, and it seemed like an opportunity that was in my wheelhouse. I would say hire me because I've got a breadth of experience that you're going to have a hard time finding anywhere else.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, in the expediency of time, why don't we skip you and go to Mr. Frazier? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm fine with that. Here, can you ask my question? No.
Treasurer Patterson, would you please?
Thank you. I'll go with my second one first. I'll try this. Coming to the relevance of changes in legislation being key for a township manager, how do you stay informed about changes in local, state, and federal laws that may impact our township?
I've been a participant in the Michigan Municipal Executives for quite a few years, which is a great way to keep informed. I participate. I don't know if I'll be allowed to. I don't know if you're a member of the league or not, but that's a great way to keep informed. And they have workshops twice a year as well on various matters. As a professional planner, I'm required to do continuing ed for that as well, and so I typically attend to the 2 planning conferences that Michigan Association of Planning puts on each year as well. Great chance to network and talk to people from other communities. Also, as a lawyer who practiced for many years, I'm pretty good at knowing what the law is and keeping myself informed.
Cool. Thank you. Second one, briefly too, it comes down to conflicts. Conflict resolution being a vital skill for really any manager. How do you handle conflicts, or how would you handle conflicts between different departments within the township government?
Yeah, I think you got to address it directly. I think everybody's got to be in the room, and you got to hash it out. In most cases, there's a win-win scenario, right? The goal is, as we've talked about a few times here tonight, service delivery, and that, how are we best going to accomplish that? There's usually a solution that doesn't have winners and losers as such, right? And because the people who you want to have win are your residents who are being positively impacted by the work you're doing. And so that's the goal you got to keep in mind.
Cool, thank you. I'm done, Chair.
Okay. Trustee Frazier, would you like to throw a few questions out?
I just got one. Mr. Elliott, just from sitting back here and listening to everybody else's questions, they pretty much asked everything I want to know. So it sounds like you had a pretty successful stint at the city of Adrian. Why'd you leave?
Like I said, it was a financial opportunity. By taking an early retirement, I'm, assuming I go back to work pretty expeditiously, don't spend a year not working. I'm gonna, be paying off a lot of bills and, probably having a paid-for house. So, that's the reason why.
So are you looking to stay somewhere for a length of time, or are you just looking for a year or two?
Yeah, no. I always try to commit to 5 years if I go somewhere. I mean, I think that's a reasonable period of time to get projects done. It's how long I stayed in Andrew. I ended up staying 10 in Pittsfield. I would never have predicted that when I started, but that's how it turned out. Of course, I was going to law school at night too.
Thank you. All right. So before we close this up, would you like to ask the board any questions or any follow-up or?
Well, I would ask, what your process is going to be, but I kind of heard it. I was waiting.
Yes, it was kind of fluid, so
Yeah.
we had a plan, but we've made it fluid.
We just learned it ourselves.
Yeah, so, I mean, if it's okay, I'll probably head home and get dinner, and you can let me know what's next, if that's all right with you. If you
Yeah,
want me to
that's- I
wait,
mean,
I
that's,
certainly will, but.
Based on what we currently have set up, we're gonna complete interviewing the candidates, and then, we'll have discussion on, where we're at with each candidate, and then we'll either make a decision, on the candidates that we've interviewed tonight, or we'll make a decision to interview a couple more people. And
Yep.
then we'll, either way, our HR specialist, Debbie Nagle, will help you, let you know where we're at.
Okay.
Did I get it right, Debbie? I keep, I'm sorry.
Sounds perfect. Enjoyed talking to you.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank
for
you very
coming.
much.
Thank you very
coming.
much.
Yes,
Have a
thank you
safe
very
trip
much.
home.
So
Thank you.
what I'm gonna ask is that we take a couple minute break here real quick. We'll bring the next candidate in and we'll get everything going. I'll go and shake Mr. Elliott's hand and thank him for coming in, Mr. Elliott.
All the Mountain Dews.
Thank you. You guys are like thick as thieves.
Got a list of like 15 questions, but I limited it to 2 for time's sake. I'm like,
I had some, but Matt had a bunch that he wasn't able to ask, so, and they were pretty good ones. What do you think, Jim?
not impressed.
You don't like it?
I don't know whether if I should speak out of turn or not, so like
That's basically the election term. He wants to be here for the election term, and that's it.
oh, he said he'd do one.
5 years.
5 years, that's the end.
But basically election term.
Sorry, I didn't have a chance to introduce myself. Like, I'm Bart Anderson. Just nice to meet you. I don't know if you're a resident or like, you're just.
I'm just Brian.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice to meet you. Appreciate you coming up. We're like, hey, we got a resident, or we got a spectator or something, so.
He's a resident.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I am, yeah.
Oh, cool. Is that friend or what?
So you guys
Actually,
weren't
just,
Still see.
I thought, is he one of the candidates? I don't know. I don't-
I might be, I'm saying the thing about, I'm like, I should be with this crowd.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure I'll live close enough.
Well, how long do you got?
Really? That bad?
What I'm saying is, oh, you're my buddy because we're police officers. Whatever you want. Right. Right. Because there's inefficiency in our police department. We don't be able to do that.
I think that's kind of the way it's done right now.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I see issues.
I like what your question is, and he goes, look at that, answer's not,
Debbie, I told him after we got seated, you would escort him in. Mr. Klein, I think, is next.
Miss Nigel?
Hey, don't make fun of me.
I thought you'd figured it out by now, and that's what I was calling her too.
No.
No.
It's like, it should be hyphen. Should be no hyphen.
Could be Rob's older brother.
Yeah.
Hey, Debbie, you got a second? Two more comments.
Yes.
No questions. You could, no, just black and white's fine.
I'm not the attorney. I'm the partner. I only play an attorney on TV.
All right, so we got a little. We got a little laughter, and that's good. Okay, Mr. Klein, my name is Matthew Oddie. I'm the trustee. I'll be chairing this portion of the meeting. If I could start at the right down here and have our board introduce themselves to you, so you know who everybody is. You got their names in front, but I'd like them to introduce you to you.
Okay.
I'm trustee John Honey.
All right, John,
Trustee and Deputy Supervisor Rush.
nice to meet you.
Township Clerk Don Laporte.
Tim Bowman, Township Supervisor.
Treasurer Bart Patterson.
Thank you very much.
All right, nice to meet you.
All right, so what we'd like to do is have you give us a highlight of who you are, where you come from, your background, and then I'm going to unleash this group to start asking questions to you. And,
Sure.
We'll be moving forward.
All right.
Okay.
Well, my name's Adam Klein. I'm an Army veteran, retired law enforcement, rose to the level of Chief of Police, White Lake Township, also Lansing Township. Continued public service leadership positions at Oakland Township and Independence Township, where I'm currently at. Privately, did continued public service. Proud father of 5, which is any father knows that's a huge public service. I was a youth and high school football coach. Locally, I was on the Village Council, Village Goodrich, and also the Planning Commissioner, current Planning Commissioner. Been the Planning Commissioner there for about, 23 years now. Member of a lot of local organizations, booster clubs, Optimist, Fraternal Order of Police, Fraternal Order of Eagles, Michigan, the National Academy, FBI National Academy, Michigan chapter. I'd say Sumpter Township is a unique opportunity for me to continue my government service at a level of leadership that I think I'm most effective. As I'm reading, it looks like you guys are pridefully rural. You like the rural community, and you want to protect your natural features. At least what I got from your master plan. And I can do those sort of things. At Oakland Township, we certainly, they are fiercely protected, fiercely rural, not a lot of business, and they definitely, we protected the parks. We increased them. We got every piece of land you possibly could to make it green space.
as I mentioned, I was township manager, so I have experience, direct experience with township budgets, township audits, working with local road commission in Oakland County. I know it's necessarily Wayne County Road Commission do a little bit differently, but certainly I don't think it's that much different. You can't work with them. MDOT, and then a lot of the county programs there in Oakland County we collaborated with. So I'm quite experienced in that. Relationships that I think that might focus that I've made with Sumpter Township might be able to carry on. SEMCOG, I was a member of SEMCOG, a member of the MTA, the Michigan Municipal Executives, also MML, and still carry those relationships on. I would say the relationships in the experience I have, I think that works directly for Sumpter, but I think it's the passion for public service that I have and my ability to set aside self-interest and betterment for citizen interest or citizen interest first. I think I'm pretty good at that, and I think that's the best quality and what would make me a good township supervisor here in Sumpter.
Okay, thank you for introducing yourself. So, committee, if you allow me to ask, I'll only keep it to 2 questions, so we won't, I won't drag you guys out on your questions or make you feel like you need to cut yours short, all right?
I'll approve that.
We have a second?
Second.
Please talk about an economic or service-related development that you think would benefit our community, for service for our residents, right? We're looking for service for our residents. We want our residents to experience, better quality of living in our community. So what would be an economic or a service-related
An
development?
economic, as I read in your master plan, you want to keep things at least rural, at least have a good mix of economic with what you already have. I saw it, I wouldn't say big box, but I would say maybe small business, more markets, more grocery, stuff like that. I believe that would work well here in the township. Service industry, we have to improve it, and this just goes with everywhere. Improve the roads, if we can work on improving the roads, which brings people then to the township, creating more opportunities. People can visit those markets, more retail, possibly office, but a little bit not on such a large scale. Because I think you want to mix it in well with the community that you already have. So I say those. Some retail, some office, and again, improving the roads. I think all those services would improve the quality of life here.
Okay. And before I go forward, I forgot to thank you for your service. I know you're a military veteran, so thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Please highlight your experience with any type of short-term or long-term budgets or strategic planning.
Obviously, budgets in Oakland Township, we did the full budget. We also did capital improvement plans for any of the capital projects that we had, water tower. We did 2 water towers while I was there, and improved sewer usage on the one neighborhood that we had. So the budgeting part, I took part from talking to the department heads to begin with, then talking to the board trustees, talking with the financial auditor, or not auditor, but the financial instructor person. I'm just lack of a name that is
Director.
Director. We call him director. Here we call him a director. Some people use other acronyms for him.
So talk to him, presented that information. We did workshops, did several of those workshops, So those were all drafts, and then we came before the board, made all the adjustments from the workshops and then presented it at the end of the year. I know I moved a fiscal year to a calendar year with state treasury, so we did that at Oakland, so we're familiar with that. As far as, as short-term budgets or things like that, I would say the capital improvement plan in Oakland, and I know I've worked on strategic plans in the police department on a department size level versus the whole township. So that's most of my experience there.
All right, thank you. I will now turn it over to trustee Honey, if you'd like to ask.
I'm probably gonna go with my question, and I noticed that you live up in Goodrich. How long did that take you to get here tonight?
A good hour and a half, probably hour 45 minutes.
And that was probably not a lot of traffic, maybe, because
There was a couple hangups near Ann Arbor. Coming around there was a little slow, and then around 94 there was, I don't know, something happened, or it just automatically gets slower. I drive down at least this way, at least to the airport. My wife is a flight attendant, so I have to drive all the time from Goodrich to pick her up. However, if your next question is, am I going to get closer if the opportunity?
As a little piece,
Yeah.
piece. Were you thinking of it, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have, again, my wife is a flight attendant, she's not home a lot, but she does come back here to the airport. She'd prefer not to drive another hour and a half after commuting to get home. So I have, my son is now graduated college, he's back home, he's ready to take over. So, yeah, we're looking to move elsewhere. So I haven't really looked at the market, but that's the plan, or at least what we have talked about.
The reason I ask is because, like I stated before, is, we have a TM that lives right down here, and we see him a lot at the late meetings and other things. And
Yes.
And you said you were more for you or for the people versus your self-interest.
Sure.
And so I assumed that you would probably be similar, especially once you got a little closer to home.
Yes, I mean, certainly you would see me more. You would have to see, at least I believe you have to see the manager more for him to become part of the community. It's just, that's how it should be.
I thank you.
Mr. Rush?
Yeah, Matt beat me to it, trustee Matt Addy, but I have to thank you also for your service.
You're welcome.
Very impressive. Obviously, you put an application in, you're here tonight. What research did you do on the township? And I gave you a little star. You said you read the master plan. That impressed me.
I said, yeah, I read the master plan. I did not memorize it. I tried to come up. I looked through, I liked how it was broken down. And I would also say I've worked with Carlisle Wortman at Oakland.
Okay.
So I'm not sure who their representative is, but I worked, Doug LeBon was the one in Oakland. And then Dick Carlisle is actually an independent, so I've seen him quite a bit. As far as master, I looked at your, I tried to look for the budget. Budget is difficult to find on your website. I don't know if you know that. I found one from 2020, I think 20 I think that might have been the last one I saw. I read the audit, and that looked okay to me. I didn't see any issues there. Looked through most of the stuff. I read the history. I noticed I know you spelled the name wrong, and we kept the P in there anyways. I tried to read the newsletters, but it appears as though they're outdated. And I did go to the Facebook page. I know that you have a canceled, is it like a food donation kind of thing? And it's been canceled, late harvest or?
Forgotten Harvest.
Forgotten Harvest, yeah.
Forgotten Harvest.
Some parking lot issues. But Thank you. My last question for you. Can you describe your management approach, how you'd be working with the staff and the Board of Trustees?
Sure. I would say my management approach is, it's situational, depends on time, really. You know, does a decision need to be made right away? Those kind of things. If it does, you know, I'll do as much research as I possibly can, get that decision out and stand by that decision. If there's a little more time, then I like to be collaborative if I can. I want as many eyes, as many minds looking at the problem, talking about the problem, going over the problem before we get that decision out. It creates, you know, it creates a little trust. It gets a little buy-in from some of the others that are making the decision with you. And if you can get it, it's almost like if you can get agreed upon decision prior, then it's usually pretty good, because you have a lot of buy-in, a lot of different thoughts and ideas. So that's really my style. I'm open communicator. I like to model what's expected. You know, if you want to see me around, you know, I think that's a good thing. So I want to be around here, so you can see what the manager's all about. People can talk to me. As a police chief, I did meet and greets all the time. We call them coffee with a cop, but you know, the same kind of things. There's like the office hours. I like to get out into the field, see what people are doing, talk to them. You kind of give it a little more informal, I guess, make up decisions, conversation versus office. Hopefully, I know that was a lot of.
No, that's good. Thank you very much. Chair, back to you.
All right, clerk report?
You need something to drink?
I'd love something. I'd love something to drink. Just water, hopefully. Yeah, I gotta drive back. So.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you.
So, I got a question. It's, how would you propose involvement with the community on programs? How would you get them to interact with some programs if you wanted to start something to kind of bond the community together?
Yeah, again, I got to go out into the community. I've got to make meetings. If it's social club meetings, if it's at the restaurant, you know, talking to people there. I got to go, you know, either Chamber of Commerce, Optimist Club Church. Sometimes I've done town meetings that way. So the idea is to get the people involved. And if we can get them involved and their ideas, their decisions, and then all of a sudden they become theirs and not yours or mine, it makes the job easier to get to where we need to go. So, yeah, basically it's getting out into the public, it's meeting with people, it's you know, identifying any stakeholders I need to, looking for informal leaders, formal leaders, and just sitting down and having conversations with them, picking their brain, listening to what they have to say.
Thank you. Have you ever applied for any grants?
Yes.
Or have you ever written any grants?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on them?
Certainly. Applied for MNRTF grant, and that's it was for purchasing land at Oakland. I've done MMRMA grants, a little more local, smaller grants for security cameras and in-car cameras in the police department. Also federal grant body vests. I just cleared up and participated in a grant, again with the state. The Independence Township had 2 previous grants on park property. They had converted some of that property inadvertently. They built a senior center on grant-funded property, and it's only for outdoor recreation, so you can't build a senior center on there. So when I got there, that was you couldn't apply for any more grants until you mitigated this conversion. So we went round and round. It took a lot of research, but it turns out there was a home on the property that we purchased, and it was used for a senior center prior to us getting the grant. So I had to take pictures, the old pictures that we had in the archives, send them to the state, got them to agree that this was not a conversion, that it actually was a senior center before we got the grant. So then it led up the mitigation, and we can move forward with the next grant. They want to purchase some more land. So that was the latest thing I just finished up.
Okay. And lastly, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
If we hired you, what do you feel your best asset would be to the community, the residents?
My best asset to the community.
Yeah, what is the best value you bring to the community? That you could share with them?
I think it's my steady approach to leadership and what they can expect from me. What they see, if they see me out on the street, is the same person and the same leader they're going to get when they come here. And I think the fact that I can remain that person and I'm not something else, I think that is probably my best asset.
Thank you. Chair, that's all I have.
Okay, Supervisor Bowman?
Okay. Please describe the general process you would implement in creating the township budget.
Again, the process, first you gotta look at past budgets, and you gotta talk to your finance director, so we can go over, where the numbers are gonna come in, where we anticipate the numbers are gonna come in, for the projects we have, and the line items of the budgets that we already have in place. And then we're gonna talk to each director, look at wants and needs, look to see if they're going to fit in that particular budget. If we have to cut, we have to cut. If the anticipated revenues are gonna be down, then we'll have to go through and prioritize each of those particular departments against one another, each line item against one another. So I would talk to the department heads first, finance guy, department head, and then the board. And we come up with a draft, and then I listen to where you guys want to go from what I've already prepared, where you want to go, make those adjustments, and then we all agree at the end.
Okay. Okay, my second question is, please describe a recent accomplishment from your current and most recent employment.
Well, the conversion mitigation was a pretty big one. Township was pretty happy about that. Also, previous township supervisor had wanted a Parks and Recreation Seniors Advisory Committee reenacted. It had disappeared due to inactivity. So I went and recruited and put that all back together. They're still having meetings today, so I was pretty happy with that accomplishment. But the mitigation was really get the state to agree with me and get that off so we can move forward with new grant funding. I think that was a pretty big one.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
Treasurer Patterson?
I may have time for three.
You may.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, please, you'll scare me. That's what I thought happened when his phone fell. I thought the gavel got hit, so. Can you provide an example of a time when you successfully managed a large-scale project or initiative?
Sure. Large-scale project, I would go back to Oakland Township and be a water tower. So we had to have neighborhoods that were hooked to the same water source. State says you have to have a water tower if you're over, I believe it was 100 homes. They had, it was more like 170, I think we had. So we had to have meetings at the township, first we have to discuss what kind of water tower we wanted or the people wanted. It was a large gravity-fed one, which is the cheapest, or a tank one that maybe could be hidden more, less obtrusive. So we did those meetings. We had to pick a spot where it was to go, because these 170 homes were like 3 different neighborhoods, and of course nobody wanted it in their backyard.
My backyard.
We had to convince them what that is. We got that taken care of. We did. We worked with engineers. I think OHM. We did drawings, all sorts of stuff, and then we had. Once we got that, we did funding. We had to do. I think it was S. We applied for S. I think it's clean water or safe water. I don't know, one of those loans from the state. We got that. And then we started the bid process with the engineer, blind bids, and then we started building it. And we obviously we picked the spot, we built it. Before I left Oakland, it was built. It was not turned on yet, so I don't know and how that one finished. The second one, that same process, and I had left before any actual construction had begun on that. We had done the bidding process. We were doing the meetings. And they were still in that process when I left to go to Independence.
Thank you. Next one, I heard you mention several times too about like that you like to be out in the township, hobnobbing, communicating with residents, talking with them, whatever it
Yeah.
is. So I like that, I appreciate that. But again, in the ability to connect with residents, what strategies do you use to engage with community members to ensure that their voices are heard?
Listen, take notes, apply what I'm being told, make sure you guys know about it. You know, if I'm getting ideas or conversations, concerns from citizens that maybe you're not receiving, then I want to make sure you know it. But listening, I think, is most important. Taking those notes and you know, make sure I'm relaying it to you that those concerns are at least publicized and everybody knows of them. I mean, you know, we're going to develop a plan to fix or address or whatever the issue is. I know in Oakland Township, I took citizens' complaints. If they came in, I said, yeah, you know, I had an assistant that said, oh no, I said, no, let me take care of those. You know, you do the rest of the stuff. Like, you know, as police chief, same thing. I mean, I got lots of citizens' complaints because people see things a little bit differently. So, you know, I like to talk out the issues, talk out the problems, see if we can fix them. I often said, I don't tell them what I can't do, I tell them what I can do. And that usually works.
Thank you. My last question, if you could describe a situation where you had to make a difficult decision that was unpopular but necessary for the town's best interest.
Difficult decision that was unpopular, but still had to be made. Those, unfortunately, sometimes it happen all the time. The road gravel, limestone grading, who gets the grading in Oakland Township seemed to be a large issue every year.
We never have that problem.
I would imagine, because, you know, it's Michigan and the roads, you know, freeze thaw and all that kind of stuff.
Never affects us here.
So, you know, no, we're gonna do this road and not your road this year. It's always an unpopular decision. There was one, and it was really a board decision, but, you know, I had to be upfront and usually take the heat from, you know, what's going on, and I'm okay with that. I understand my position and what I'm supposed to be doing, but Oakland Township, other than roads, safety path was and financing of safety paths. They had a lot of safety paths. The township did not want to finance those safety paths. They had the builders put them in, and then when the builders leave, and then the maintenance and who takes care of that, it's back on the citizens. So I had to deliver that message after several meetings with not very happy HOAs and citizens groups that this is just the way that the township wants it. And, you know, we'll keep working, maybe with some underfunding, we'll keep looking for those things, but this is the way it's got to be. Those two come to mind right off the bat. Again, I understand my role in those decisions and what I'm supposed to be doing, and the deflection or the protection I'm supposed to be providing.
We appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
I was getting ready, we were gonna go into question number 4.
No. Limited. If I would have been the first one, I may have had 4, but.
Trustee Freed?
Good evening, Mr. Klein.
Good evening.
And, everybody thanked you for your, Army service, but I want to thank you for your 30 years in law enforcement.
Thank you.
That's incredible. My question's gonna relate directly to that. I understand law enforcement, you guys are a fraternal organization, it's kinda like a brotherhood. How are you gonna deal with conflict between the law enforcement side and running the township? So say down the road, the police department wants to spend money that township necessarily don't have. Are you going to be a yes man, or are you gonna go against the grain and think outside the box?
Well, I work for you guys, who works for the citizens.
Very good answer.
So I feel like I work for them. And as I started out the conversation with, I do what's best for the citizens. And I don't, you know, it doesn't bother me to do it that way. If it's all right, I am more likely to convince you that the right decision is what's best for the citizens. Not what's best for the police department or what's best for the fire department, but what's best for the citizens of the township of Sumpter. I don't have any issues with that. I don't, you know, somebody else may, and we'll discuss that. But I have the ultimate trump card. You're working for them. They aren't working for you.
Good answer. Last question I have is, having such an extensive work history, what's your longevity look like? How long do you plan on working?
I still feel pretty healthy. I think.
I'm hoping to get somebody in here that's actually gonna stick around for a while.
Yeah, I don't plan on going anywhere. I continue to plan on working. I have a daughter still at Michigan State, and now I have one apparently that's going to get married, and so I still have a lot of things I have to get done. So I'm going to keep working. You know, as far as an end date, I'm only 60. I think I got another good 15 years.
Okay, so, I'm sorry.
I got a question. You know, you talked about getting out and getting out with the community and talking about things that they want, they need, or their ideas. I mean, we don't have that many businesses in Sumpter Township as far as where you could go and hang out and talk to a lot of people.
Right.
Would you be open to like having a town hall meeting like once
absolutely.
a month, you know, to invite the citizens in?
Yeah, and I may have, I called it office hours. You know, regular hours here, certainly people could come and meet, but maybe office hours after. So just open, it's kind of like a meet and greet. Come meet the manager, let's sit down, have some coffee, you know, have it in more of an informal setting. You know, come tell me what, and if I have to go to an HOA meeting or just any sort of meeting, I've done any number of them as police chief or township manager or, you know, police lieutenant, you know, depending on what the issues were. If I had to go into, I don't know, it's a community, they had a community building where you know, just meet at 7 o'clock. And, you know, tons of people talking about whatever issue it was at that time.
Yeah, I think that would be a better idea, you know, as far as getting residents
Sure.
together. Because, I mean, you know, you got all we have is bars and pizza joints in the town. You
I
know,
don't mind meeting people
know.
there.
You're gonna have to hang out at the bingo.
Yeah, I wouldn't encourage a lot of,
Or the Sitco.
drinking and stuff like that, because that turns into a different meeting, but, mostly coffee.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
All right, any other questions? Okay, so, Mr. Klein, how things are gonna proceed is, we still have, another candidate to interview. We are then.
Who's been waiting here longer than me?
Yes. We are then going to, have discussions and,
Certainly.
only a couple options, right? We've either found a new TM or we're still looking. So,
Right.
but either way, our HR representative, Debbie Nogel, will, did I get it?
Yes.
All right, absolutely. 3 times a term. We will, then get in contact with you, let you know where we're at.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Supervisor Bowman, or Clerk Laporte?
I'd like to ask Mr. Klein, do you have any questions for us?
Well, I would certainly ask about the process, but he just explained it. How quickly do you think that process will be complete?
Well, our interview's end tonight.
Okay.
So it'll be very, very,
Okay.
quick.
And I saw there's a lot of turnover. Did we fill the other positions? The DPW,
No.
Are you looking for maybe that
No.
position too? or-
I will say that I was at Independence and they had a little issue with the DPW and I had to put them off on leave for a couple months and I went over there and did that. And that's completely different than Parks and Rec or Township Manager or Police Chief.
Right.
Yeah, that's the different group of guys there.
All right, if you don't have any more questions
No.
of us, we'll.
Thanks for the water.
You're welcome. Thank you for
Yep.
coming in.
Thank you.
Yep.
We will be in touch.
I think we'll
Thank you.
take another 3-minute break.
All right. Yeah, I will try and watch the video. Thanks for that. And, yeah, do I know you? I remember. Thanks for coming. Sure, thank you for having me.
You would think I didn't know her, I couldn't get her name.
Again, thank you for your service.
Oh, absolutely. Where did you serve?
Army?
Where?
Well, you know,
I serviced my entire time in use of and spelled oh man, 4 weeks. I was
Don't tell me you're getting hot. My hands are cold.
Thank you for
No, he was great. The best thing, they always say you can't ask this question. What was Jimmy do? Hey, when are you gonna die?
Well, no, I mean,
Jim, what
he's
you gonna do?
retired from multiple positions already, so how, what's your longevity?
If I had to guess, if I was at the carnival guessing somebody's ways, I would have had
We're gonna split this. Why, it's not my season.
I see.
We're passing
You came
notes.
pretty close.
Passing notes.
Well, I wanted to
So
know.
when are you gonna die, man?
I wanna see mine, I'll show you mine.
That was my note, I asked.
Oh, yeah, it was 62.
Well, he says it's say, 4, which would put him around 62.
I told you, how strict the law was. No, we're wrong, Rob.
I mean, it was innocently, it came out innocently, yeah, which is great.
I'm abrasive, I don't beat around the bush.
Oh, it was like, so when do you expect?
The first guy said 5 years. Well, unfortunately, 5 years. He said, oh,
Well,
that's
he didn't even commit that, he goes, I generally.
right. That's what I want to know if you offer you this position, you're going to be involved in this. You plan on working here for 10 years, or is this going to be a 2-year?
Well, but you gotta remember, the average township manager probably is 5 to 6 years.
Sumpter Township ain't average.
Yeah, well, so far we are. We're only at 2, 1.5. We're only at 1.5, you know?
Yeah, you can bring them in.
Yes, thank you.
Debbie Noggle.
You want a real pen? So use a BS? You have that. I got another one
This is
right
the
here.
second one that I.
But this is a nice pen. I got one. You can have it.
might steal it.
You can have
Yes, you get lucky one to see us to stand at the podium. All right, committee ready to get going?
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Dunbar. Hello.
Yep, Mr. Dunbar, I am gonna be chairing the meeting tonight, and what I'm gonna do is start over to the right, have each one of the board members introduce themselves to you, then we'll get the show on the road. Mr. Hunt?
I'm John Honey, trustee.
Tim Rush, trustee. Township clerk, Don Laporte.
Tim Bowman, Township Supervisor.
Treasurer Bart Patterson.
Jim Frazier, trustee.
Nice to meet you, gentlemen.
All right, well, welcome, Mr. Dunbar. I happen to have the pleasure of knowing Mr. Dunbar from way back. Way back, we worked at competing companies back in the early 2000s, where he was at Metro Cars and I was at Checker Sedan. So I'm familiar with him. In fact, I keep questioning. I didn't know if we met at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We did. There was a lot of meetings getting ready for the Super Bowl, and all the transportation companies were there. So.
Well, and keep in mind, we took a contract from you and then you bought one away from us.
Right, absolutely. You know what? You see that tie? That tie is a Checker Sedan tie, right there.
He's rubbing that in on you.
Okay, so we're gonna get this going. I'll ask my first questions first. If the committee doesn't have an issue with that, we'll go through, and each committee member, board member, will ask you a couple of questions. Then at the end, we'll allow you to ask us questions in a general, and that'll be the end of the page. So,
Sounds good.
all right. How do your qualifications and experiences, how do you think they'll benefit Sumpter?
Been a business executive for 25 years now, and my specialty or my successes come out of helping organizations understand where they are, who they are, and either growing, becoming more efficient, more cost-effective, more effective in the market. And I think I can bring that to the township and its citizens. Modernizing is one of my specialties also. So I can step into any role. And if you've seen my resume, you see that I've been in many, many roles over the years. To be able to step into any role and help the township grow, be successful, and move into the future.
All right. You know, I actually skipped one step here in a matter of time. We didn't even let you introduce yourself and tell us all about your history. So that kind of started it. Why don't you finish and kind of give us some more about, you know, your experiences and things and where you're from and all that good information about you.
Well, I'm a business manager, business executive. I have over 25 years of experience helping, as I said, helping small to medium organizations in the SMB space to grow, become more efficient, become more effective, integrate in growth plans. And I've had responsibilities of revenues from 25 million to upwards of 350 million, doing both in revenue units and cost centers, so taking on any role. My specialties are technology, operations, and regulation, and bits and pieces like that. But just anywhere in an organization, my successes come out of the ability to see the big picture and distill big pictures down into the pieces that really makes organizations be successful.
Okay, thank you. My next question is, what is your understanding of how our township works, or a township, general law township works?
Well, for Sumpter Township, you're a council manager style government. The Board of Trustees or the council is elected, and they employ management to handle the day-to-day operations and to execute on the board's vision and directives, working on behalf or the will of the citizens. And
all right, I think you
Good.
summed it up. All right, so I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Honey, and then we'll come down through the board asking a couple of questions and see where we get.
What made you want, or what made you interested in actually coming to the township for this, hopefully this job for you? What made you want this?
I was a longtime resident. We bought our first house in the township in 1992. Lived here until I took a job in Arizona with a company and moved to Arizona in 2007. And in 2017, with the illness of a parent, I moved back to the township to be able to care for that parent. And my family still lives here. All my children live here. Well, one lives on Bemis Road on the Van Buren side, but he considers that he's in Sumpter Township. So my family's here. I have a vested interest in the community for it to be successful. Like I said, I started it here before we bought our house. I was here in the late 80s, so I mean that takes me back a lot of time. I think I bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table to help the township be successful in its future endeavors, and I think I would be a good fit. It interests me, and I have a vested interest in the township itself.
Is that it, Mr. Honey?
Yeah, I want to ask one other thing. So you've been helping a little bit before all this too, haven't you? As far as, aren't you helping with the business planning on when it comes to the bingo?
Yeah, I volunteered to help with the business plan on the bingo side, so I'm currently know more about bingo than I thought I ever would. Even from the legal perspective, which I talked to a young man over here earlier and said, you know, at some point we need to talk to help work out some of the other issues of it. But I'm currently running the financials on it to see if it's financially viable, and to see if I can help the Parks and Rec Committee do something good for the community.
Okay. All right, Mr. Rush?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Dunbar. Thank you for coming tonight. Can you kind of go over your management style and how that would work with interacting with employees, departments head, and especially the board?
My management style is I understand who my customer is, and my customer is the people that are servicing the township's customers, which are the residents. So my management style is to help the employees or the other people within the organization or within the township to be successful and make sure that they have the tools in order to service the residents, to help distill information down, to make sure that they have the tools and the information to make it happen. But I also hold myself accountable, so I make sure that everybody is accountable to their jobs and what their responsibilities and expectations are. I think I'm fair, and some of my proudest moments throughout my career is helping people become successful in their own careers, and I still have people that have grown through the ranks that I've put them on their first steps to their careers and still keep in touch today and say, you know, thank you for helping me get where I am now. So helping people grow and be successful on their own. As far as the board goes, you guys are in charge. It's your vision. In this position, it would be my job to execute on your vision. So I would hope that you would set the expectation for me, and it's my job to fulfill that expectation. I'm very good at pointing me in the right direction, and I'll run with it for you and make you successful for what you're trying to do within the township.
Yep. And one more quick one. Have you ever applied for any grants, with municipalities, state, federal, a little bit different than the regular business world? I shouldn't say a little, a lot different. Any experience with that at all?
I don't have formal experience at applying for grants, but I understand the grants process, and I understand RFP, RFQ, licensing and regulation to a T. That's one of my specialties is understanding the minutia or the detail of complicated pieces like that. For example, at Metro Cars was a contractor for the casinos. We had to have a gaming license or a contractor's gaming license. I spearheaded that whole piece, and so complex that by the time we submitted for the license, it was 3 paper boxes full of information in order to do that. So gathering, making business case. My writing skills are next to none or few and far between. And as Mr. Odie stated, or I stated, is we took a long-time contract away from them. It was my proposal that I wrote to win that bid, and that was a very large bid. So that's my business development experience is writing and making business cases to garner business. I equate it to the same way as a grant process, understanding that there's certain criteria that have to meet, but I think I have a good understanding and have the ability to come up to speed very quickly on it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dunbar. Chair, back to you.
All right. Clerk report?
You need something to drink?
No, I'm good. Do I sound like I need something to do?
Well, I've asked everybody. I want to be consistent.
Yeah, you're not
That was one of
special.
his
He asked
questions.
everybody.
I was just saying,
But nobody ever asked me
do I have
back,
cotton
so.
mouth?
So can you describe any experiences you might have with capital improvement planning or managing a large infrastructure program?
Building infrastructure as far as plant and property, I've always managed in all businesses I have, whether it's buildings, a lot of my background is in transportation, so large fleets. Did a large alternative fuel conversion at one point in time and put together and installed a self-contained LP fueling infrastructure. So yes, maintaining computer and IT infrastructure and managing that. So I have experience in managing plant property and equipment.
Okay. What's your philosophy regarding community engagement and keeping the residents informed regarding critical issues related to the community?
I don't pull punches. I'm pragmatic and realistic. And just like with an employee base, if I have, 500 employees in front of me that need information, I'm gonna do the same thing, is we're gonna tell them the truth and tell them how we're gonna do it and make sure that they understand the information that they need or want. And I don't have anything to hide. I'd rather deal with the truth and make sure the citizens are aware of what's going on and what they need to be engaged in the community.
And how would you get that message out to them?
Well,
If
obviously,
it's gonna be, you're trying to reach 13,000 residents, what do you think would be the best way to reach all of them?
well, I've been thinking about it because, it's a different world now than it was. There's a lot of social media that goes on, but how many people are subscribed? I think Sumpter Township has a couple hundred maybe that are part of the Facebook page. But I've thought of things of, do you have town hall meetings, or not formal like board meetings, but town hall meetings, mailers. I looked for newsletters on the website, but I didn't see them. I saw they were talked about, but I didn't see any up there. So newsletters are good if they're not over-promised and under-delivered. And but I think it's important to take any avenue possible. I was at a meeting here recently, and there was a young lady that's apparently a regular attendee, and she had the complaint that she doesn't use a computer, so you have to, and if I'm correct, Sumpter Township's population is aging a little bit. So you gotta make sure you cover those citizens that aren't online and give them avenues to receive information also. Newsletters, mailings, town halls.
Okay, thank you very much. Chair, back to you.
Thank you. Supervisor Bowman?
Okay. What would be your plan for the first 180 days if you're successfully hired?
Figure out everything that goes on within the township. Spend time with every department and every key position to find out what they do, how they do it, what do I need to know. Find out what help they need, what help they can give me. Break it down and then produce some type of document out of it that said these are my observations and this is where I need to go. But you got to learn it. You can't manage what you don't know.
Very good answer. Okay, what is your understanding of the Board of Trustees manager form of government? How will you work to support respect and regard of this form of government?
Well, if I'm correct, in a trustee manager style of government, you're looking for a management to execute on the day-to-day of your vision, your directives, your laws, and your ordinances for the township, and it would be my job if I won the position to advise the board on what's going on and ways in which we might be able as a team solve issues or move forward in a direction that you want to do. But I understand that the township board is the ultimate, and I think that my advisory skills would fit very well into that style of governance.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Treasurer Patterson?
So most of us up here, well, I should say a lot of us up here are business owners, so I applaud you. Obviously, pretty extensive business management, business administration, operations, so, applaud you for broadening your horizons. But with that same question, I know you haven't had any experience in managing a municipality, but what would your, kind of goes along with what he had just asked too, what are your expectations, or how would you hit the ground running and still be able to be a township manager, learn the process. You mentioned 180 days visiting each area, but in addition to that, is there anything that you would be able to do to hit the ground running so that you're not just learning on the job type of thing?
In any role that I've been in, I've been able to hit the ground running, just based on my experience. So, for example, at Rockwell Medical, I came in and they immediately changed the way they were doing business. And I had to become a product expert, a business expert, and an operations expert, plus become an expert in their ERP system in order to make a conversion. And we weren't able to work on it because it was under confidentiality rule. So we only had 30 days when the deal was finally signed. We only had 30 days to institute the whole thing, and I had only been there 2 months, and I already knew a very complex FDA-regulated medical product inside and out, understood their entire ERP system, and built. We took the business from, they had 2 bill-to customers and 2,000 ship-tos. And the company converted to just shy of 400 bill-tos with the 2,000 ship-tos. So I was able to execute creating their entire customer base within their ERP system, establish individual pricing, which was approximately 100 prices per customer, so it ended up being 20,000 individual prices that had to be generated and uploaded into their system. And I know my story's getting long here, but I just want to make sure you make sure I can intimate to you that my background and knowledge, being able to see bigger pictures, being able to understand processes very quickly, to be able to, I might not know every nuance walking in the door, but I can look at a process and see what it's doing and learn the process while also evaluating the process for effectiveness, cost efficiency, repeatability, like a Six Sigma type process.
Yep.
So I hope that answers your
It does, yeah. Even when you mentioned you're an ERP expert too, like I know enough to be dangerous in that system type of thing too, and I know of several people that have talked ad nauseam on that. I'm like, wow, that's impressive. So you seem like a quick learn in that area, and I've had some experience too, so I understand the difficulty in getting into something and having to become an expert in that pretty quickly. So
yeah, when it comes to systems like that they're naturally intuitive to me. So
not to me.
So for example, is it BSNA?
BSNA, yeah.
Did I say it right?
Yep.
That's an ERP system for a municipality. Right. And so I've already done comparisons of what I think you're doing based on what's on the website versus what I was able to garner what BSNA does, like moving all your forms online.
Very similar, yeah.
And project management and everything right into that system. I mean, I don't know if you have on-premise or if you're in the cloud and what exactly you have. From an outsider, you can't know all that. But basically, when I didn't know what BSNA was, so I went and looked, and it's an ERP system for municipalities. So.
Yep. Cool. Next question's kind of similar too as well, because obviously not much experience when it comes to municipal management of government type of thing, but when it comes to the approach to creating and managing a budget, I'm sure you have extensive experience in business budget and all that, but how would you correlate that and bring that expertise into a municipal budget?
I've been through your last 3 audited financials.
Cool. That's nice.
They're hard to read because of the PDFs and how they cut, so I didn't want to get into printing them out and pasting them together so I could read across. Some words are different, but that happens in any time a person comes in. There's a lot of nomenclature that's different, tomato, but we're all talking the same things. You don't have a P&L statement, you have a statement of activities. But it looks like you're running a fiscally sound township. You know, I understand what your restricted funds accounts are for and why they're used. You're servicing your long-term debt very, very nicely on good terms. It'll be up soon, so you can buy something new soon. And so, yeah, I've been through them.
Cool.
I understand them. Your balance sheet looks good.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate checking that out.
Yeah.
Like you've done your homework.
Well, I mean, and for example, is when I went to Rockwell, they're publicly traded, and you know, I asked them right off the bat in the interview, you know, your 10K said looks like something happened in 2018. What happened? You had a big business change there, because you know, when I left there, they had earnings per share of about -$5. So, you know, it all comes out in the financials. You can see what goes on.
Yeah. Last question here is, obviously it's corresponding to municipal government, but describe your experience working with elected officials, people such as boards, mayors, city, township, council, all that type of thing.
Well, from a business perspective, one of our biggest, being in mainly transportation, one of our biggest customers in every transportation I've been in is government contracting, whether it be airports, city governments, county governments. For example, at National Express, you know, Mayor Duggan's office was getting a special transportation for school kids to go to help encourage charter schools. So I sat on the mayor's committee with getting that going. We were awarded the contract, so we did the startup on it and dealt directly with the mayor's right-hand person to get that going. So working with governments is always been, I've always been on the provider side, but primary customers were governments. You know, we did B2C and B2B, but business to government was always the biggest avenue for that type of transportation work.
Great. Thank you.
All right, Trustee Fraser?
What challenges do you think that Sumpter Township has, and how would you address them?
Well, challenges is, if I'm correct, it's hard because they're taking data down at the federal government. So, because I was going to go check the census on the population and the surveys, the interim pieces, but I believe you're losing population, and it's getting older. And there are a few development activities as far as economic development besides single-family homes. And unfortunately, in our times where everybody's buying from Amazon, brick and mortar stores aren't very profitable anymore. Joanne just went out of business after 80 years because they can't support themselves anymore from a brick and mortar standpoint. I think you have an opportunity for a light industrial corridor along your Rawsonville Road area. Is there interest to bring light industrial into the area? Are there people looking for that? And certainly opening up the residential side of it are there anybody interested in developing higher density single-family residence or maybe a multi-unit residence in the township? But other than that, I think things need to stay stable and keep the tax base stable and make sure that the tax base is at least growing a little bit from a rural area where the world's a lot different than it was 20 years ago. Does that help?
Thank you. Chair, back to you.
All right, well, as we wrap up, do you have any questions for us?
What are you
Any
looking
follow-ups?
for in a manager?
Well, I mean, if I could throw my 2 cents in, you know, we're looking for somebody that is going to keep all of our departments working together, that we can improve the flow of our information, our paperwork, work with the board and our ideas. Obviously, boards change, so what we want to see in the next 5 years could change in the next election. But, you know, help us develop and implement the 5-year plans that we'd like to see, improve our technology that we have, and improve our residents' participation in a lot of the activities that we try to sponsor, the Parks and Rec and things like that. So, and be a good face for the community. We want to improve our services, not only our water, our sewer, our fire, our police, you know, everything can be improved. We have great departments, but everything can be improved. It can be more efficient, and that's what we're looking for. You know, we've kind of had that. We got our township manager here. We've kind of had that, and we're losing it, and we're looking to you know, keep that that piece there and continue that improvement. If anybody else would like to add to it, but that was my.
That was a pretty good summation, Trustee Addy.
I wouldn't mind adding to it if I
You
could.
absolutely could.
I'd like to see a township manager come in and kind of, whatever's missed out at a board meeting, be able to get that message conveyed out to the residents. I believe it's important for the communication, for the community itself to understand the direction that the board's vision is. Because not a lot of people tune into the meetings, even though they're taped and broadcasted over YouTube and on the website. But I think it's important that they understand the direction that we see the township being, so we could get better feedback. I mean, I like the transparency. I like the message getting back out to the community. I like more community involvement with the programs that we currently have started. We have a really big ongoing project starting this spring in the park. I'd fair to say that, I mean, we've done our best to let the residents know that this is coming with public meetings and so forth, but I always think we can do better.
Yeah, well, it's difficult because, one, for some reason, the federal government is what everybody believes, but residents don't quite understand that you make the most impact the closer the government is to you than it is farther away from you. So, you know, community engagement is down everywhere. But you know, you have to get the word out. You have to use every means to do it. And you know, have you tried, or is it something that you can do? That you have quarterly, you know, meet the township and find out what's going on. You know.
Yeah, I'd like to see a township manager that could come up with a plan without being given direction to do so, that's outside the box thinking, that can get this plan thought of and executed in a timely fashion. Not something that drags out forever. You know?
Well, I worry about things of, because you didn't ask the question, I was waiting for someone to say it, is, you know, what's your worst trait? And my worst trait is, and I'm much better at it now, is moving faster than people can tolerate. So I've become very good at gauging how well people are tolerating change or moving at a pace that's faster than people can keep up. But there's a lot of, you know, if you don't move fast enough, then your plate just fills up, and then things become not a priority anymore, because there's always a new priority that's going to hit your plate at some time. So you got to move fast, and keeping in mind that you only move fast enough that everybody else can keep up and grow and change with out-of-the-box thinking.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Yes, sir, Trustee Rush.
Mr. Dunbar, I'll give you a warning.
Yeah.
I like that you move fast like that, but get ready for a lot of disappointments in municipal government, because it moves slow as molasses, okay?
But isn't it the manager's job to help the board move faster also? And
Absolutely.
Yeah, but a lot of time it's at the state level, where we don't have control. Or it's a law, or you gotta wait for, like the ARPA funds. We went through hell on that, executing, getting everything planned out to spend those funds. And it was just a bunch of government gobbledygook, completely. And their initiation plan changed right in the middle of the stream, the whole thing. I mean, it's just, yeah. Pardon? What is it?
All right, so, Mr. Dunbar, so what's gonna happen is, we're going to have some discussions, we had 3 candidates, we're gonna make a decision to either, I hope to do second interviews with, a couple candidates, or possibly look at making offers, but whatever happens, we'll get back to you here within, probably the next 48 hours on the next steps.
I appreciate it, and it was a pleasure meeting everybody, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Yes, and so as I close out my, my chairship, I'd like to thank everybody that, had the confidence for me to run the meeting.
Good job.
We're not done, we have an item left.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I'm relinquishing my chairship
Oh.
to the chair, Don.
Oh, okay.
That's what we're talking about discussion.
So, I would like to ask the township attorney, Mr. Young, as a general information, for us to have discussions without coming to conclusions, is that possible for us to have discussions, offline, if we're not making decisions, if we just want to talk about?
Deliberating, no.
Okay. If we just want to talk about the different candidates and stuff?
I mean, the discussions happen all the time, but I mean, there can't be much of a deliberation, and you can't take a vote.
Yeah,
How do
right.
you, who is your guy? Who is your guy? It's just
Are you
that-
asking me?
No, I'm just saying, that's,
No, I guess I was thinking more of just having general discussion about what we heard, and making sure that we all got the same information.
well, I think you can always get, think about information. Did you did he say he did this or that, or what did he say he went to school or something like that? I mean, but he's gotta be careful on deliberations, but the way you guys are doing this, I think this is gonna move pretty fast anyway, so I'm not sure that you're gonna have a lot of time to have all those
All right, well,
discussions with.
I will relinquish the chair to Supervisor Bowman, and we can further the discussion on protocol.
May I remind you too, we have that other issue,
Yes.
so we don't lose track of that, setting the public hearing.
So we're moving on to announcements?
No.
Are you sure you want to get up, Chair?
We got one more item we gotta vote on.
Yeah, consider. Put my glasses.
Yep. Item E, I can read it for you, Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Item E is consider approval to schedule public hearing for the 2025-2026 Township Operating Budget for Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. I don't see the time there. Did we have a specific time
I
selected?
think it's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock? Is that is the March 11th our next board meeting?
Yeah.
So we would probably want to do it at
5:30.
5:30 so that we can have
Yeah.
the public hearing before the meeting?
Yeah.
Before you go much further, can I just ask a question? I mean, so that's a week from tonight. Is that enough time to get it into the newspaper? I don't know if Sam, if you would know, or if not, we need to push it out because we need it in the newspaper, publication of that notice.
I don't think that would be.
Sounds like we have another special meeting coming.
Yep.
In my experience with the associated newspapers, if you don't have it there Tuesday by 5 o'clock, it's not gonna make it that publication.
So maybe we move it out a week and have another special meeting. I mean, it should be a very short meeting. It might be a meeting where you also might, something else might deal with. I mean, with more interviews or something. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
there
you should.
you
I'm
go.
just
Good point.
saying possibly.
So should we look at the 13th and that'll give us time to get it over
No,
there
'cause
before
that's
the
still
Tuesday?
get into the newspaper.
Trustee Yanni and Mr. Bowman, if I may.
Yeah, please, yeah.
is it possible that we could hold the public hearing for this at the next board meeting prior, and then motion during the board meeting to approve, as long as I can ensure that accounting has a couple of things in play for that. And of course, right at the top of the list is getting the board the draft budget that is prepared for 2025-26.
I didn't quite understand what you're saying. So you're saying that a week from tonight, you want to have a budget, a draft budget prepared? Is that what you're saying?
What I want to do is have a draft budget sent from Kerry Ford out of Finance out to the board for a couple of weeks worth of consideration, have the public hearing for that, the meeting prior to the next board meeting, which is the 25th. Do it at the same time.
So
You
have
can
a
do it at
public-
the same
have
time
a
on the
public hearing at 5:30, and then, approve the budget at the regular board meeting.
Understand you're not going to have a lot of time to make changes to the budget, so you really have to have your reviews in place and having discussions with Ms. Ford or whatever. So you're going to have to make the decision that night, I guess, as to what the budget's going to be. So you can do it that way. So what we're having is the 25th is plenty of time to get the notice out, plenty of time to get the proposed budget out before that time. Time to review it, and then an opportunity on the 25th to hold the public hearing and then make a decision at the board meeting that night.
Finance accounting just got departmental numbers out today, I hope. I gave a distribution. Hopefully she got those out to PD, FD, because they need time to look at it as well, so that they can put input into that product, and the board's looking at good numbers from the functional disciplines that are gonna manage to those numbers.
Okay, Chair, I'll go ahead and reread that, consider approval to schedule public hearing for the 2025-2026 Township Operating Budget for Tuesday, March 25th at 5:30.
Yes,
So moved.
if the board
Support.
please. Thank you.
We had a motion and a support, Chair.
Chair. you got a
All in
vote?
favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried.
Chair, or Chair, so don't.
I would link, Chair, I would link the
Announcements.
So, so when do we have discussion about the candidates? Maybe it might be something just.
We can open the discussion now. I mean, I'd like to make a motion to invite Mr. Klein and Mr. Dunbar back for second interviews and pick a date for that, and
I would say that we make a decision tonight if we find somebody that, we feel is capable, because we obviously lost Mr. Best. There's plenty of other job opportunities out there. I don't know if can I bring up issues I had with the candidates?
Well,
now?
we just basically have just had a motion, unless there's a support, that won't move forward, so, I mean, I'd like to have, maybe we could have a motion support and then have discussion, but,
Actually, Mr. Frazier supported the motion by talking. That's what legally,
Okay.
under Robert's Rules of Order, if he speaks as to the motion, then it's a support, and then he has a right to talk.
okay, got it, that's fine.
So Mr.
Discussion,
Frazier
then,
effectively,
discussion.
Sam supported the motion by Mr. Roddy, but you can talk about it.
So basically, he made a motion to have these two candidates come back in for a second interview, and by you speaking, you automatically seconded that, and now we're having discussion, so you're the first part of the discussion, so you can continue on your discussion, and that opens up the rest of us.
and if I
Am I
could,
correct?
if I could add on to that, the motions cannot be discussed without a second. So if you automatically start speaking, then it's an automatic a second to the motion because you're wanting to discuss it. So that's, just how the rules generally work.
Let me say, it doesn't mean that you support the idea, you're supporting it for discussion purposes just to move on. I mean, you can still have whatever opinion, you can disagree.
Welcome to government.
Right.
Well,
Look, if
but
you
now,
had to-
but now it's open for discussion, and so,
Let me just say this, I
Thank
think
you
if
for
he
your
hadn't
support.
supported it, somebody else would have supported the motion for discussion anyway,
right,
so.
right.
I didn't know that.
So if you started the discussion, why don't you go ahead and finish? I made my motion because I feel that we should, as hiring a township manager at this level, we should be doing second interviews to ensure that, we have any follow-up questions, and to ensure we're making the right decision. That meeting could be tomorrow, that meeting could be, Thursday, but that's my opinion on it. If everybody else has an opinion different,
I would be up to making it a decision tonight. I've heard, and listened really well and comprehended really well, and
that's what makes it work.
Did you want to carry on the conversation?
Yeah, I'm with Supervisor Bowman.
Sheriff,
I'm
I mean-
pretty much ready to make a
Pardon me?
decision tonight.
I mean, with my opinion. I agree to a certain extent that we should have maybe further discussions, further interviews. I still would like to see Mr. Ken Martin be one of our top scorers, be able to come in. So I don't know if we're gonna have a second round of interviews. Do we allow one person to come in for a first interview while we have second interviews? I'd like to, I don't know how much public discussion we can have about the individual candidates and their performance, but like with the motion that we have on the table right now.
That's what the
Chair.
discussion is.
Chair, with all due respect, Bart, I mean, you're just keeping the process moving at a tortoise rate. I mean, we keep doing that, we're losing good candidates. We lost our financial director, we lost Matthew Best. What's next? We're gonna lose the next candidate we wanna hire? I mean, why keep that going? Let's change it, okay? If we can agree as a board that there's somebody, a candidate tonight that we feel is capable of doing the job, let's move forward, that way we don't lose that candidate.
I understand. My response would be to that too. I agree, we don't need to move at the speed of a tortoise, but we also don't need to run at the speed of light into a wall and based upon a 30-minute conversation that we had with somebody, make a determination that could be for the next 5, 6, 7 years of the future of the township. So I think that we need to be a little bit judicious in that.
what more would we ask in the second interview that we didn't ask tonight that
Well,
would change our minds? I mean, I've never been to a job and been interviewed twice.
It's common in my
It was
job.
common, yeah.
Pardon me?
For administrative jobs, it's pretty common,
Well,
Did
I
the
haven't
vote-
experienced that, so I wouldn't know that, but I've never been interviewed for a job twice.
But Chair, I think,
I
we
mean,
can
I've-
probably move beyond that. I made the motion to do the second interview. If we don't have a taste for that, then we should go ahead and vote on it, and then we can make a motion to take the next action.
Okay, well, I make a motion to
Oh, there's
We already have a motion on the table.
We have motion
Call
and a
for the
second.
question.
Yeah,
Call for
the
the
motion,
question.
Tim, was, Supervisor Bowman, was to, have a second interview with the two candidates that I named. So if you call that, the vote on that, then we can then move on and make
Okay,
another
we'll
motion.
call for the vote now.
Well, before we go to a vote on it too, if I could share, like, we don't have, like, is there a time, because when you propose a time of those two dates that you suggested, you didn't really suggest a date, but, like, would we be available? Like, I know there's limited time that I
I
would be
didn't
available.
suggest a date at all.
Okay.
All I did was suggest that we do second interviews. We could determine the dates based on a conversation of who's available.
Would you be willing to modify your, rules if we're going to do that, if in agreement to that we, ask Ken Martin to come back in next week?
Well, I don't know if we wanna wait 8 days.
Okay.
Chair.
Well, he'll be back on the 10th, right?
Chair, so you had mentioned that when Jim spoke up, that he had seconded at that point, but what he was suggesting and what Jim was saying was two different things.
Right.
I understand, look.
So he really wasn't supporting with what he said.
You don't have to support, because you support a motion doesn't mean that you support what was being said. You support motions for discussion purposes,
into this.
to move it along to get to a vote. So if Mr. Adi wants to withdraw his motion and Mr. Frazier withdraws his support, and we start all over again, then if Mr. Adi makes the motion and I'm just picking somebody else supports the motion, we're right back to where we're at. So if you all are not interested in moving on to a second interview, then you would vote no on this motion. If you're fine with going on to a second interview, then you would vote yes. I assume Mr. Frazier, although he seconded the motion, would vote no.
But that's where I'm running into the problem. How did his just speaking up affirm that he was seconding it when what he was speaking out of his mouth was saying that he wasn't?
When there's a motion on the floor and there's comment made by a trustee at that moment, it's considered a second.
Automatically.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're not willing to second it, or then you don't speak on the issue. Now, look, we can back it up. I'm not trying to sit here and get into technicalities. All I was trying to do was move along the issue. If you all want to do this and come to a second set of interviews, then we need to get that handled. If you don't, and you want to make the decision tonight, you have that opportunity. So, I mean, if you vote no, then you can have a new motion on the floor.
Chair, I suggest we do a roll call vote.
It's fine. Calls for a roll call vote. You can do it.
And can we please reread the exact wording of the motion?
The motion was to have a second interview for Adam Klein and Kevin Dunbar in consideration of being the township manager.
Okay, roll call vote, I guess, right?
Trustee Honey?
No.
Trustee Russ?
No.
Clerk Laporte?
Yes.
Supervisor Bowman? Yes. Treasurer Patterson?
Do
Make sure we don't.
you understand, Mr. Supervisor, what yes means?
Means you want to have a second.
Means you want to have?
No, then it's no.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
The opposite.
Yep, thank you.
Patterson?
Attorney.
Yes.
No.
Frazier? No.
Yes.
So what do we have?
4 no's.
Four no's.
All right, so the motion fails. It's open to any motion that any board member wants to make.
Just remember though, if you talk on it. It's a second.
I didn't mean it to be punitive. I meant it to do exactly what we just did. Get a vote. I mean,
Sometimes
that's all it
you
was.
gotta be reminded of the process.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Since we're just throwing motions out there, like maybe, Chair, if I would make a motion to have second interviews with the candidates, but also another interview, a single interview with Ken Martin. I do like his, I don't mind waiting the week, but.
He'll be back on the
Oh,
10th.
wait.
Today's the
talking.
4th. I'm just
kidding. I'm just kidding.
But I'm just saying, it's not a week. I mean, we could be thinking about a special
6
board
days.
meeting way ahead of time.
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to, however you want to state it or say it, I would like to make a decision tonight. I don't want to wait a week and call somebody back and interview them twice.
Make a motion for your guy. That's how you do it. We had a motion that died
I'll
for
make a
lack of
motion to
support.
make a decision on hiring the new manager tonight.
You have a guy?
What's his name?
Mr. Dunbar and Mr.,
Can only hire one.
oh, well, Mr. Dunbar then.
Can you tell we've had no planning before this meeting, or?
So, is Mr. Patterson willing to withdraw his motion?
Am I? I don't know, like, let me have a discussion with myself, like, he did talk, so was that a second? I'll withdraw my motion if there's no support for it. I think we don't need to rush too much in advance for it, so.
Now the
Okay.
floor is
I'll withdraw the
open.
motion.
Well, now the floor is open for another motion.
I second his motion.
Well, make the motion
I
again.
thought he already made it.
I already made the motion.
He wants to hear it again for the
Wants to
official
hear it
record.
For the record.
I make the motion to make the decision to hire Mr. Dunbar tonight.
I second the motion.
He seconds the motion.
Should probably do
Now
a
we'll
roll
have a
call
roll call
vote.
vote.
Chair, is it open for discussion?
It is open for discussion now, yes.
Okay,
You realize that's the last guy that was here, right?
pardon
Who
me?
never once said anything about caring about the citizens or doing the best for the citizens, has
he
no
did.
governmental experience.
He did say
did.
that after
He
Greg
did.
He
done
did,
that.
and he has
Several
roots in the
times.
township too, that's the thing,
I
he's got
I
roots in the
listened to him real
township.
careful,
So he cares about the township.
yeah. He actually brought up the town hall meetings, I had to ask the other guys about it, I mean.
But he didn't look at our master plan.
Pardon me?
He didn't look at our master plan.
Yeah.
That's something that I paid attention to.
Yep.
And, I mean, can we discuss the other candidates while doing it?
No,
Discussion, well, yeah, I mean, because if you
I mean,
Well, look at, he went through all their finances and everything
he
for
went
the
through
past
3
3
years.
years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
nobody
The
went
other
through any of
can't-
the budgets.
Nobody
other
else
candidate
said they
did.
went through it.
Mr. Klein said he
didn't
did.
ask him.
He went through our budgets, he went through our master plan. He looked and did more research than any candidate we had tonight. And he's got the law enforcement
Miss-
experience, he's got the township government experience.
Mr. Klein said that our budget is hard to find, he could not find it, and my question on there is why?
That's
He
exactly
said
what I.
from 2020 forward,
I could not find your budget, it was hard to find online.
That's
from
what he said.
2020 forward.
Well, I'm just, okay,
And Kevin found it. Kevin
Right.
Dunbar found it.
so.
Kevin Dunbar has no governmental experience.
Right.
Knows
Neither does the
nothing
president of
about,
the United States.
knows nothing about,
Hey, since we're just talking.
I say let's just do a roll call vote.
That's
Let's
fine.
see what
And,
Jay
you know,
said.
if you go
That
back,
was why
how
I
much
suggested
did
we
our
go for
past
second interviews,
township
so
manager
that we have time
He had a
to,
little bit
you
of
know,
time in the clerk's office.
so that we have time to,
He
you know,
was
have
just like
discussion
Kevin.
and, you
One at
know,
a time, Tim, you gotta take control of this, one at a time.
So,
Thank you.
Chair, if I could finish my statement that I started, I'd appreciate it, if I could get
Okay.
that.
Go ahead, Matt.
That was why I suggested we do second interviews, so that we had time to research, vet out any issues that we may have with a candidate, and move forward. You know, I like both candidates. I like Mr. Klein that had, you know, a lot of government experience. He had a lot of experience in the things that we were doing, going to be doing, need help doing. Mr. Dunbar has an extensive background in business and understands processes and can probably catch on, you know, pretty quick, but,
Lives
that was,
locally,
yeah,
the other
that-
guy has to travel an hour and 45 minutes to get here.
but that was why I said, you know, we could have further discussions, even if we scheduled a meeting tomorrow, but, I think we have a motion and a second, and we have discussion, so we either pull the motion back and look for second interviews, or we move forward and vote on the motion. Two options.
A motion to, I bring a motion to have a second.
We've
We already
got
have
the
a
motion.
Okay, so let's have a vote on it then. I support the motion, your motion.
Well, we have, you have a motion to hire, do you wanna remove your motion?
Yes, I'll remove my motion. We'll have a second interview. I support your motion.
He hasn't made a motion yet.
He withdraws his motion, do you withdraw the support, Mr. Honey?
Yes, if that's what he wants to do.
All right, so now it's open for a new motion.
So Matt, make your motion.
I would like to make a motion for the board to consider second interviews for Kevin Dunbar and Adam Klein at a date to be determined.
And I
Support.
support that motion. Roll call. Mr. Honey,
Yes.
Mr. Russ?
Yes.
Mr. Laporte?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Patterson?
I'm still a yes.
Mr. Fraser?
yes.
Yes.
Matt, you should have voted no.
Can we make a?
But we're gonna do that right away. We're not gonna
That-
put it off
that's where I'm
until
about
the
to go. Chair,
25th.
can we make a motion?
We
Maybe
need
do
to
that
make the
Thursday?
motion, we need to set the date
Thursday
tonight.
this week?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's 2 days from now.
I won't
You
be.
can
Yeah.
set the
At
date
what
for
time?
for the interviews.
Oh, I got a busy week. What time?
Or Friday, just
Friday,
this
yeah.
week, that way
Going
we can
payroll.
move forward with our process.
Okay, so what time Thursday?
6 o'clock.
We're gonna call them in for interviews.
You guys wanna do second interviews, and let's do it this week, and
So Thursday, at what time?
I'm good for 6.
6?
I'm good for 6.
I'm good for 6.
I can't make it, I've got a previous engagement, so.
So, okay, I'm good for 6. Tom?
I'd have to check my calendar.
Okay, so there's 4 of us that are good for 6, right? All right,
That's a quorum.
that's a quorum.
Is it better to do tomorrow? Do we have time to?
Good with that too.
I don't think we have
Yeah,
time to call the meeting.
yeah, because we gotta post, don't we have to post that
Yes, we
meeting
do.
too? Tomorrow would be too quick.
What about Friday?
I'm good Friday.
I mean, I think we need to have a full board if we can.
Well, I mean, it's an important
Good
issue.
Friday.
It's a very important issue.
Check my calendar. Got a lot going on.
So do I. I got a hell of a lot going on. I'm working in Northville. I had to come home and drink my lasagna tonight.
Want to do Monday?
Monday? Monday, the 10th?
And then here we are back again, we're pushing
Yeah.
off another week,
And we have a candidate back in the area then.
which opens up a whole another can of worms, because then you'll say you like that guy over the 2 guys that we're already trying to do second interviews with, and it just keeps it's a spiral.
I'm glad you can tell the future on what I'm
Well,
gonna say.
I'm just saying, if you add more people into the mix, when we obviously have 2 that we like,
Is it possible to excuse myself?
Are you not available, Bart, Friday?
I can be,
I'm not
but
talking
if it's,
about from the whole frickin'.
it'd be easier to cancel tomorrow night, but it's not enough time.
So when do we wanna have this second interview?
ASAP.
That was part of why I didn't wanna do it in the first place.
I can, you said it's
Well,
this Friday, this Thursday or Friday, I will make it work either way.
Thursday or Friday?
Either one.
Let's
yeah.
do it Thursday. See if we can get the candidates
Yeah,
here
Thursday's
Thursday.
better for me. 6 o'clock Thursday?
I'll cancel it then.
John?
Yeah.
Ten.
That's
It's
fine.
important.
Yeah, I'm
Don, check
flexible.
your calendar. I'll be good. Mr. Patterson, Fraser, Noddy. All right. Thursday at 6.
Okay.
Which is the
We'll make
6th.
'em-
So I'll memorialize it with a motion to have a special board meeting for second interviews this Thursday at 6 PM.
Support that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
No, I wanna stay here.
Make a motion
I'll support that.
for a tall one.